all the stories we covered all year long, Ashanti's story had to be one of the most heartbreaking.
We watched our daughter's life slip through our fingers, through our hands, you know what I'm saying? And that miracle didn't come for us.
An Aurora girl, just 10 years old.
She was just a child of joy, you know? She brought joy to everyone.
Bullied to death. Devastated after this schoolyard fight was posted online for everyone to see.
I seen my daughter was scared.
Ashanti Davis ended her own life, just 10 years old.
It's just devastating.
You know, our officers see a lot of different types of tragedies, but to see that a 10-year-old girl had taken her own life, I think it's a shock to a lot of people because you just don't think that someone that age even knows what suicide is.
Suicide is a topic no one ever seems to want to talk about. It's taboo.
Over the last decade, suicide has doubled among children, so we are really looking at what's a very, very serious problem.
But Ashanti's death got us to thinking it is time to start a conversation.
Getting the word out there helps so that people know that there is an option to reach out.
A conversation about how this happens and how often.
I tried to kill myself.
What role does social media play in this rising epidemic?
When somebody posts something on social media that says, not only do you not belong, but we hate you, or you're less than, or you're stupid.
And what role do we play as friends and parents and as a community in stopping it?
If we're in this together, then I believe that we can begin to find a way to beat suicide.
It's time for us all to start a conversation about Bullycide. Good evening, I'm Jeremy Hubbard. Thanks for joining us tonight. Bullycide. I gotta be honest, I'd never even heard that term until last month when we first told you the story of this little girl, Ashanti Davis, just a young child with dreams of playing in the WNBA, until her parents say a bullying social media post pushed her to the edge and she killed herself at just 10 years old. And if that age seems young to you like it did to me, law enforcement and mental health officials say it's not. They're seeing cases like this younger and younger. Right now, we're going to put the number for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline on the screen, and we're going to keep it up throughout this broadcast. If you need help or know someone who does, please just give it a call. Tonight, we're trying to find solutions, talking to experts about the cause behind this, talking to teens who are trying to prevent it from happening, and talking to families dealing with some real devastation.
Bella was my baby. She was the youngest of 4 daughters. And the light of my life.
Everyone wants to protect their children.
She broke my heart. That's the piece that's not working anymore.
But it's hard to understand that includes protecting them from themselves.
In the long run, I still wasn't able to do that.
It's all still so new and so confusing for Melissa Martinez.
I don't think she really knew what she was doing. I think that she thought, you know, she was gonna do this and somebody was gonna find her and save her, and that was gonna be it.
Just 3 months ago, her 13-year-old daughter Bella ended her own life right here in the family home.
I mean, it's the last thing that I ever expected from her.
Pictures are on the walls, a shrine in the living room.
Everywhere we look, she's right there.
To a teen girl they are convinced was bullied to death.
She was sent a video, and in the video it was stating how that this girl was gonna kick Bella's butt, and she was fake, and she was gonna pull her fake hair out, and that she was ugly and pathetic, and, you know, just horrible things that she was saying.
They blame social media and themselves for not knowing the depths of the problem.
Maybe I didn't do as much as I should have for her. I tried. You know, I always tried to be the best mom that I could. But I didn't know how to save her from the people that were wanting to hurt her.
But the reality is few of us understand the depths of this problem. In Aurora, where Ashanti Davis ended her 10-year-old life, police have responded to 9 youth suicides this year alone and 21 youth suicide attempts.
For a lot of these parents, they don't find out what their kids are going through until, you know, either it becomes a crisis or really it is too late.
And if you think the problem is bad in this all-America city, it is nothing compared to what they're dealing with down in El Paso County. With the beauty of Garden of the Gods and Pikes Peak off in the distance, it's no surprise Colorado Springs is often at the top of lots of national lists, like best place to live. But there's another list you won't hear city officials bragging about. This town has become the teen suicide capital of the nation.
Just kind of looking at the city, it seems like a super pleasant and amazing place to live. Yet we have this high rate of suicide, and there seems to be some disconnect there.
In this town and the surrounding area, 46 kids ended their own lives between 2013 and 2015.
Obviously, in El Paso County, Colorado, it's crazy. It's on fire.
At this one school, Discovery Canyon campus, 5 students killed themselves in the second semester of last year. At the Classical Academy, a student took his own life on school grounds.
I tried to kill myself.
Macy Ray Klein knows the issue firsthand. She started harming herself in 6th grade. The suicidal feelings started in 7th grade, and later, she tried to end her life twice.
You get in this dangerous spiral.
She still has the journal entries from the darkest times in her young life.
Those are what captures the feeling of desperation and pain.
That depression, that pain, and that loneliness can be contagious, as mental health officials and school leaders have noticed in and around Colorado Springs. Last year in El Paso County, there were 15 teen suicides, the youngest just 13 years old. There's a name for this tragic phenomenon, those spikes in numbers in concentrated areas. They're called suicide clusters.
It's actually pretty common. There's even something called the Werther effect. The more media coverage there was, if it was in the front page of a newspaper, if it had a photograph, if it talked about the way in which a child commits suicide, there was a greater likelihood that there would be subsequent suicides within that community. So it's really concerning and it's very real.
And increasingly, there's fear among professionals that social media helps push children over the edge.
Oh, and now there's social media that shows you when you're excluded, when you're not liked, when someone has a problem with you, rating your looks, all these kinds of things that happen. And we absolutely see over the last decade, suicide has doubled among children. So we are really looking at what's a very, very serious problem. Usually people who have a mood disorder or depression, there's a sense that they do withdraw and they're not doing well socializing. However, particularly with kids, all they really want is to feel special and have attention. They just don't know how to get it.
Maybe the answer to stopping teen suicide begins with teens themselves. Back in the 90s, around the time of Columbine, the state started the Safe to Tell program, allowing young people to report anonymous threats. So far this school year, more than 5,000 tips have been reported from all across Colorado, tipping off law enforcement and schools about potential threats. The vast majority of them have involved suicide threats. In fact, so far this school year,
we have seen our tips related to suicide and self-harm go up by 100%.
Attorney General Cynthia Kaufman says the Safe to Tell line is literally kids saving the lives of other kids.
This is more often a classmate who has seen something on social media or had a conversation with a friend and they are concerned about them, and they let us know either through using our mobile app on their phone, giving an internet tip, or calling in and talking to someone about it. And then we can follow up. These kids shouldn't have to be counseling their classmates about suicide. They should be able to hand that off to a caring adult who can help them through that.
Her office just announced new plans to combat suicide among Colorado school students, including $200,000 to be spent in 40 Colorado schools through a program called Sources of Strength that teaches peers how to look out for each other and spot the warning signs of suicide.
Good evening, guys. How's it going?
Some kids in Colorado Springs, though, are trying their own approach. This group goes around speaking to students and church groups, talking about the risk of suicide among young people, how to spot it, how to help.
I want to save kids from themselves.
Project Reasons was started by Macy, that 16-year-old high school junior we told you about, who tried suicide twice. She's transformed her lowest moments into something positive.
I want it to go all over the world as far as we can, as many lives as we can save. That's Even one would be enough for me.
She and her friends and some adult advisors started the project and a website where young people from all over the world can find blog posts and resources to combat suicidal feelings.
If we're in this together, then I believe that we can begin to find a way to beat suicide.
It is such a huge concern for all of us adults, and to be a part of making something happen in this arena of suicide and prevention and starting that conversation, it breathes life into me.
Part of their mission is getting students to wear these bracelets and sign a pledge that they'll seek help and call that number on your screen, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, if they're feeling suicidal.
They promise to live, and that's really encouraging.
It might seem in the short term that committing suicide is a way to ease your pain, but it's forever, and that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and trying to get these kids to understand that sometimes you got to go through bumps in the road, but you'll get through it.
And back in Aurora, where Ashanti died, the police worked with local students to put together this empowering book with tips on how to handle teen troubles like suicide.
It has to become part of the narrative that we have in society today. We're seeing too much of it. I think parents, peers, teachers, whoever works with young people can't be afraid of, when they see a real change in a child, to be able to just say, are you doing okay?
She just did not show that she was hurting.
They are questions Bella Martinez's family asked of their 13-year-old, but did they ask enough? Did they do enough?
For kids to take their lives because other people are being so mean, it breaks my heart. These kids are babies.
Their goal now is to make sure no other family ever has any regrets.
Get involved, get more involved, put your foot down and, just, you're the parent, be the parent, because this could be your child.
When we come back tonight, local teens take action. They start a social media blackout and a movement that makes a statement about teen suicide. Welcome back as we take on an issue every parent and every young person needs to be talking about: bullycide, when kids are bullied to the point of suicide. We saw it happen just last month here in Colorado with the death of Ashanti Davis at just 10 years old. Ask the experts, they'll tell you social media plays a big role in adolescent suicide. So, when suicides rocked their schools, a group of local kids decided to take action. They started a campaign encouraging everyone to go offline.
When's the last time you spent an hour without looking at your phone?
How about the last time you went a day without looking at your phone?
For most teens, the concept seems impossible. Put down your phone, delete your apps, get off social media.
I pledge to offline October.
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 Yet somehow for an entire month, hundreds of local kids managed to go offline.
So we started thinking what really affected teens' mental health, and social media was a big one. And so we just thought it'd be really cool if just us as a group went off social media for the month, and then it just started growing and we got a lot of positive feedback.
The catalyst was a rash of suicides at Littleton area schools. The school year started with 2 suicides in 2 days, an Arapahoe High School student and an 8th grader at Powell Middle School.
It really impacted the community a lot. Everyone was really heartbroken.
That's when a group of 25 students from area schools decided enough was enough.
It just came together really quickly.
They hatched a plan, created a website, and went into action.
Social media, we just deleted it and went totally offline for the whole month.
Student Caitlin Hardy says it was not easy.
I would say the first couple days especially were really hard because you wake up and the first thing you always do is check your social media. And so that's a hard habit to get out of, I think. And then throughout the day, everybody's Snapchatting, you, before you go to bed, you're checking your social media, and that's kind of the big way to communicate with other people. So the first couple days are really hard because you have to readjust, you have to get people's phone numbers because you just Snapchat all the time. So it was a hard adjustment at first, but then you just totally forget about social media.
We didn't think it would become this big, this quickly. Within the first hour of having the site up, we had thousands of visitors, and we had a lot of pledges right then.
Before long, more than 1,600 kids at 200 schools in 7 different countries had logged on and signed the pledge to live a story instead of posting one.
We were all just super shocked and surprised and very happy that this started a bunch of conversations about teen suicide and mental health and stuff like that.
Stop worrying about your followers and start worrying about your friends.
The students started taking stock of how much time they really had been wasting online.
For me personally, I was on 3 or 4 hours a day. And the average is actually 9 hours a day for a teenager. Most teenagers are only awake, 15 hours a day.
Question is, could they actually make a permanent change?
So I actually went back on social media in November and then went back off of it just because I saw myself getting depressed again. I felt left out. I was comparing myself to those people. So then I, again, just deleted my social media. Just from our own experience, you look at like perfect lives of different people because you don't see all the time behind the scenes that they take, how many pictures they take, the editing. You just see the final picture and you're comparing yourself to that perfect person or perfect situation. And it really just makes you feel bad about yourself.
Many of the kids who started Offline October will be moving to college soon, but they believe in just 1 month they started a movement that may actually be unstoppable. They plan to expand it next October, start their own nonprofit, and encourage others to delete those social media apps and actually start being social with each other.
And it's just been a really big wake-up call for, I think, our entire school, just how we treat each other.
Kids helping kids deal with suicide by putting down their phones. When we come back tonight, simple steps for parents or friends dealing with someone who may be suicidal.
Colorado Crisis Services. This is Claire. Who am I speaking with?
Meet the Lifesavers.
It sounds like you're fearful that she might be bullied.
When you call that number on your screen right now, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, or any of a dozen other helplines, these compassionate Coloradans might be the ones picking up the phone.
I heard you say at the beginning that a friend relayed this information to you.
You're needing help, you need someone to talk to. Our folks are here for all of that.
24 hours a day, every day of the year, the staff at Colorado Crisis Services answers the phone and gets text messages and chats from desperate people on their darkest days. And the calls just keep coming.
We're definitely increasing every day, pretty much.
About 15,000 times a month, someone reaches out to them, many of them suicidal. Many of them know someone who is, and they just need help figuring out what to do.
And it's really anyone who wants to talk really about anything.
Perfect. And I've got one last very quick question for you.
You can talk to someone on our crisis line, which would be our counselors that have a background in specific behavioral health training. Or you can reach our support line, which is staffed by employees who all identify as having lived experience with some behavioral health struggles.
I want to see how I can help support you with this fear that I'm hearing.
A calming voice, a stranger, willing to listen. Sometimes that's all a person needs. And thankfully, the taboo that may have kept them from calling before is going away.
I think schools are talking about it more, workplaces are talking about it more, certainly the media is talking about it more. And all of us kind of working together to combat this terrible stigma around it so that people actually feel more comfortable reaching out, that it doesn't have to be such a scary thing to get help.
I could assist in providing you some phone numbers for mental health agencies.
Right this minute, in this room, here in Denver, they're sitting and waiting for you to call.
Okay.
So if you're struggling right now with suicidal thoughts or know someone who is, use that number on your screen. Right now, reach out, and you'll hear that calming voice, that stranger, willing to listen.
My goal is letting people know that you don't have to wait till it is the worst day of your life. You can call before. This can be a preventative measure to help provide support for people as they're at different stages of their journey.
We'll be right back. Finally tonight, when suicide is the second leading cause of death for young people here in Colorado, what can a parent do about it? We asked a child psychologist for some simple steps to help you take action.
I think the first piece of advice I would give them is know what's happening online. You have got to know your kids' social media habits. You've got to know all of their passwords, and they have to know if they're going to have social media that you're following them. Number 2 is to communicate with your kid. It's such a tough time when kids are 10 years old. They might not tell you as many things. You might feel lost in it. We have a pretty distracted parenting culture right now. It's easy for us to also get lost in what we're doing. And the third piece is, I say, more than just listening to the words that your kid is saying, because they can say, yep, everything's going great. During the communication, is more watch their behavior. So I say to kids, what your parents and I are going to do is we're going to listen to your behavior even more than your words. And so that's when I think a parent's job maybe even becomes easier, because you listen less to what they're telling you if you suspect something's happening or you're just checking in, but watch more so. What is happening with their sleep and their eating and their moods and all of that piece, and really continuously check in with them, inform the school that you think something's going on. I think it really takes an entire community at this point to help raise our kids and keep our kids safe.
and the entire community needed to keep some of the youngest in our state safe. If you need help right now, be sure to call that number on your screen, the National Suicide Prevention Helpline. And we've got more resources on our website as well, kdvr.com. Just search the hashtag BullySide to help prevent what happened to Ashanti Davis from ever happening again. I'm Jeremy Hubbard. Thanks for joining us tonight.